Okay, welcome everybody to the New Jersey Association of Library Assistants presentation of optimizing the Chrome browser. I'm Crystal's going to introduce herself in a minute, but I just wanted to remind everybody that if you have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will be monitoring the chat and keeping an eye out for questions that need to be answered. Some may be held till the end, and then we may stay a little later if people have questions that need to be answered. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Crystal.
Thank you, Deborah, and thank you all for joining us today. So this is the first in a monthly series about Google-related tips and tricks. So what we're going to cover today are things like what's a browser versus a search engine, how do you clear your internet history, what is a cookie and is it good or bad for your internet experience, how do you use incognito mode, how to access apps within Google, to change your browser settings, create bookmarks and folders, and how to add extensions. And this is more for like a novice and just a casual user who wants to learn more about how to do things on Chrome. So if this is not your cup of tea, I totally understand, but thank you for joining anyway. So my name is Crystal Hooper. I got my MLIS from the University of Alabama as a distance learning student. I currently work at the Somerset County Library System of New Jersey as a technical project specialist. I'm NJALA's treasurer and also a conference planning co-chair, and I'm an aerospace education member for Civil Air Patrol, which means I can do STEM kits, evolving technology, and other things for any ages from 5 to 99 years old. And before we really dive into the Chrome tricks, we're going to talk some internet terminology basics about browsers, search engines, and cookies. So a web browser is an application software for accessing the internet. The most commonly used today is Chrome for Android and PC users, followed by Safari for Apple users. There are over 20 internet browsers to choose from. Picking a browser is dependent on a few things, like the device. Is it a mobile PC? And what is that device's operating system? The browser's features, its speed, the privacy needs of the user, the tools built within it, like app access, and user customizations. And we're going to go over quite a few of those today about Chrome. And if you're curious, PC Magazine has a really excellent article that ranks and discusses why one browser is better depending on the user's application. So I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it today, but I will share that article in the resources at the end. Just so you know, it is not uncommon as a user to bounce between several browsers. You might even remember the browser wars of the early 1990s, and those have had several stages, and it continues on today. So that's an interesting kind of wormhole to delve down if that's your sort of thing. Now, search engines. There are new search engines popping up all the time. Google, Bing, Baidu, Yahoo, Yandex, and DuckDuckGo are the most used search engines. There are some you see on your screen that I hadn't even heard of until researching for this presentation. A search engine is different than a web browser. It is a tool that helps people find information posed through web queries using keywords or phrases. Search engines crawl millions of web pages, and they find and rank the best and most highly relevant content that matches the user's search terms. Every search engine consists of two primary parts. The search index is the library of web page information. It is designed to map search queries to URLs to appear in the search results. And then there's the search algorithm. This is a computer program that helps locate the specific data or search query from a vast data collection. For today, we're not going to delve into any more about how they work than that. If that is of interest to you, maybe I can host a future web topic on that. You can just type in the chat if that's of interest, just so I can gauge how curious you all are. Now, a search engine aims to provide the most highly relevant search results for users, yet they also operate from monetary gains. There are two primary ways each search engine presents and ranks information. There's organic search results, where they are listed and ranked based on pages SERPs. A SERP is a search engine result page, and that's based on the relevance to the search query and the search engine's optimization. And the second type are paid search results, and these are ads created by businesses. You may have seen them listed as sponsored links, and they usually appear at the top of the search results. And digital marketers will work through search engine marketing, also known as SEM, to create, manage, and boost those paid ads. What this means for all of you as a bottom line, just pick a search engine that is reliable to you, that is giving you the results you expected. And most of all, it needs to be easy to navigate. So like we mentioned at the top, we're doing a whole series about Google related things, and the Somerset County Library System is a Google powered environment, and all of our staff use Chrome on a daily basis. And something that we get asked a lot about is our history, and what does search history mean, as an individual and as an organization. Now, Chrome does track browser history and your visit site history, but this isn't to, be like Big Brother on you. Google does this because it wants to make your next user session better. Google is using artificial intelligence and machine learning and learning from your habits as a user. And all of that data collected helps make them product innovations and enhancements, which keeps us all coming back. Now, there are certain websites that will not load properly if there are too many stored cookies or too much cache is saved on the browser. I know I've experienced this when using a web-based computer programming notebook. I'm sure you've experienced it yourselves. A basic history clear doesn't solve all of those issues though. It might allow access to the one website you visit next. Much like user privacy though, which we'll continue to talk about, reviewing the websites you frequent and the things that store the most cookies and cache data will help you analyze your habits and the risks you're taking when searching on the internet. So I'm just going to go to Chrome and show you quick how you can find your search history. And let me know if you don't see this just fresh Google Chrome page. So you're going to navigate up to the upper right and click on the 3 vertical dots. And this pulls up a menu. And the 4th option down is history. And if you just hover on it and don't click anything, you can see the websites that have been visited the most recently. If I click on the word history, I can see, okay, I accessed this slide that we're watching the presentation from right now. I logged into Zoom recently. I can do all these things. I can look by date. If this is like a shared workstation, I don't want anyone to know that I was working on this. I could go through and I could click them all, and then a delete option comes up here. This is just one way to search history. We're going to go over many others. So you may have a favorite that you use, and we'll get to it later. All right, back to our presentation. Now, cookies. An internet cookie is a date text file stored to the local browser. Think like online shopping or when you order food online. It's very convenient if you accidentally close the internet tab and you reopen it and all of your updated and saved shopping carts are still there. Or let's say you swap devices frequently. You start your search on your Android phone and then you swap over to your laptop. Well, Google Chrome made that possible with synced devices and being able to log into your account using your search save history and the cookies enabled on the websites you visit to pool all that data together. The primary uses for internet cookies are session management personalization, and tracking. There are two types of cookies. There's single session and persistent multi-session. Both work together to enhance the user's experience. A single session cookie are used to help with website navigation. It temporarily holds records information that get erased when the browser is closed, and it provides the smoothest navigation experience possible. That's why they're automatically enabled on most websites. Persistent cookies remain on your computer and record information every time you visit the site. They are stored on your device's hard drive until you manually delete them. Some cookies expire, but it can be years after you've visited that site. Lastly, they provide an analysis of site use to maintain access quality. Things like the theme setting, your bookmarks, and your language preferences. The apps that you've downloaded on your phone are really good examples of the use of persistent cookies. And the issue with cookies, and what you've likely heard about, are privacy concerns of internet cookies storing all of this user data and selling it. We're going to cover some of the ways you can minimize those instances today, but a full internet security is not on our agenda. I just want you to know that not all cookies are evil. They are used and created to enhance your user experience. And to help you remember the internet cookies, I heard a really kind of funny comparison of internet cookies and dental hygiene. So, admittedly, if you're like me, you may not floss every day. But if you eat a cookie and some of it gets stuck in your teeth, you're likely going to get it out somehow. And the same can be true about your internet browsing and cleaning history. Good internet hygiene, as in regularly clearing out your cookies, or at a minimum, examining them to see if there's anything issues propping up, that is the equivalent of taking care of your teeth like flossing. So it's highly recommended best practice for your privacy protection and your device performance to get into a habit of looking at and deleting your unneeded internet cookies. So that's a lot about cookies. How do you find these cookies? So on the screen, I've given you how the steps to follow to find them, but we're just going to go look at what's on them on this computer. So just like we did when trying to look at the history, we're going to start with those three dots in the upper right hand menu. Then we're going to go down to settings and click on that bar. And you can do this two ways. You could either use the search settings and type in cookies, or if you're more of a navigator type, just do privacy and security, and that brings you to the full cookies window. You can use the arrows to open different things. So I set this Chrome browser to go straight to advanced. Yours might default to basic, but you can unclick and just clear what you want to use. Now, 175 megabytes is not a lot of data saved on this browser. So I don't think I need to clear anything on that right now. But I can also switch and say, I just want the last hour. Okay, like I was looking up something, it brought me to a bunch of websites I'm uncertain about, so I'm just going to get rid of the last hour. Or maybe all of a sudden my computer is a shared workstation, so I'm going to clear my history for the last 24 hours. Whatever it is, all time sounds awesome, but they're not joking, that's all time. So you may have had a cookie or a website that you didn't get to bookmark, and if you do all time, you're going to wipe everything away from that. So I just caution you to not always do all time. The advanced just gives you a little bit more detail about what is stored on your browser. So like, just over 1,000 items, but they're on synced devices. Synced devices means that this account is logged into on more than just this computer. The download history, 24 items is not a lot. That can be anything from a picture you downloaded to get ready for like a presentation like this. It could have been like a tax form. here's those cookies that we were just talking about. And remember, they're not all bad and out to sell your data. So 410 websites that we visited have stored some kind of user data about us. If that's all I want to do is get rid of the cookies, I can just unclick all the other ones and just clear the data from there. And then it goes back to this same screen. Once that menu goes away, you know that it's cleared. Before we move on, any questions about cookies? Because I know that can be an area where things come up.
I don't see anything in the chat, Crystal.
All right, perfect. So I just also want to open this cookies and other site data while you're in this privacy and security. If you get into the habit of clearing your cookies and you're saying, boy, I have to do this a lot, or wouldn't it be great if I never had to deal with a cookie ever again? You can do that. You can change your cookie settings. It's going to default to blocking third-party cookies only when in incognito mode, which we'll talk about in a little bit. You could say you want to allow all cookies, and then it gives you some reasons why you might want to do that. They're going to say, you know, for the best browsing experience, you'll remember items in your shopping cart. This is also where you get those personalized ads. I feel like personalized ads are a double-edged sword. I have young kids. If I'm buying something for them as like a birthday or Christmas present, and then I let them use my phone to play a game at a restaurant, they might see exactly what I bought them as a personalized ad. So you just got to be kind of careful about what you're shopping for and looking at if you're sharing devices. In the workplace, that can be certainly true. But you can open any of these little drop downs and read the difference. You're going to notice that some of them are exactly the same. Like sites can use cookies to improve your browsing experience. Same sentence here in the next drop down. Same sentence here. They're trying to tell you, you know, we want to do better. This is that artificial intelligence, that machine learning working to your benefit. It's not to be malicious. All right, we're going to keep going back to that menu. So if you do think of questions, certainly ask Deborah. And sorry, I closed that. All right. Incognito mode is one of my favorite modes. Like I mentioned, Somerset County runs on Google. We have a lot of shared workspaces, especially on like frontline service desks, reference desks, circ desk things. Incognito mode can really be your friend if the computer is set up to just kind of be in like a default branch Chrome environment. And then you want to log into your personal email to check it. Incognito mode is a really safe way that you can check just your account without having that device store anything about you. If you notice on this screen, when you launch incognito mode, which I'll show you how to do, it's going to pop up. It's going to be a dark mode. So you know you haven't accessed the dark web, but you are just in a cleaner version of Google. It talks about cookies right on the thing. When on sites can't use cookies that track you across the web. So that's enabled automatically. That was the same kind of feature I was showing you in the other menu that you can turn on if you want. So let's launch incognito mode. If you start at regular Google, you can click on those three vertical dots again, and you're going to notice a lot of the things we get to when optimizing Chrome start with those three vertical dots. And you're going to say new incognito window. And I know that it doesn't always pop up beautifully, so I'm just going to go to the one that I know works. So you see my whole screen is dark now. Everything I search for from here on out is not getting saved. There's no website history. You can verify this by clicking on those same three dots again, and all of a sudden there's no history as even an option on here. So you know it's not tracking your history. If you really, really want to be safe from this point and you're using Google Chrome, but maybe you don't like Chrome as your browser and privacy is your main concern, you can go to DuckDuckGo which is all about internet security. If you've never looked at it before, it has a feature a lot like Google. They partner with Google, so you can add it to your Chrome extension. So all of your site searches are private, but it works the same way. If I want to search, like I want to get to today's news, let's say, I can search it just like normal. It looks a lot like Google. It feels a lot like Google, but everything that I'm searching is not getting stored by DuckDuckGo. They're all about user privacy. They're very easy website to use. You can even make a Gmail kind of email account with them if you'd like to do that. And again, you can always tell you're in incognito mode because the top of your browser bar is going to stay in that like dark mode. And you can click on those 3 dots and see that there's no history in there. And I'm just going to toggle back to the other Google web page for a second. You notice on this Google home screen, we've got the New Jersey Association of Library Assistants. Our Gmail is logged in right now, so you can see our icon. You can also see our icon because we're logged in at the Chrome browser level. Logging in incognito mode, there's no browser level to log into. So that's how you absolutely know that there's no way anybody's tracking you there. If we just went to Gmail, we'll just search. We'll just go to regular Google from here. I'm still in incognito mode because it stayed dark at the top, but it looks like a regular Google page. And you notice I'm all of a sudden not signed in to that library or New Jersey Library Assistants email account. Does that make sense? Silence is my friend. I know that on webinars, but any questions about incognito mode?
Nothing's come up yet.
Perfect. You're an easy group. I like it. So I'm just going to close those for now. Okay, Chrome apps. And you might be saying, well, what's the difference between an app and an extension and that kind of thing? And we're going to go over that a little bit. But what Google Chrome defines as an app to them are the things that they have developed and that are the most common user tools. These are the things we're going to talk about in future months' webinars. These are the quick links to Gmail, Google Drive, Calendar, all those things right off of the Google search bar homepage. So let's go look at them. I know this is called the Google app, but I like to call it a waffle icon because it reminds me of a waffle. You click on that once and you get all of your things at just a click away. Then you don't have to bookmark any of these websites. The most common ones are going to be at the top. If you don't like the order, let's say you look at your photos the most, you can just click photos and drag it to the top. Or you're like, I don't store anything in my Google Drive. You can move that to the bottom. You can rearrange it however you want. You can take something from the secondary screen. So they're still common, but not the most common things most Google users use. And you can drag it up to the top for quick access. If you go all the way down and click on more from Google, this is going to kind of bring you to kind of like a Google store in a sense, but you can learn more about Google products that might help you, things that are on the market, get to some different blogs, anything you need. The nice thing about that waffle, though, is you can very quickly launch into your calendar. And you can, from the calendar, you got the same waffle there. So you can say, okay, now I'm going to go make a new document. And you can link that document to the calendar. And we're going to talk about that in a future webinar. But you can do all sorts of things from that launch. All right. Now into the more meaty stuff. And we're going to spend a good amount of time on this. So internet settings. I hope that this pop-up window on the left of your screen that says new tab, new window at the top is starting to look familiar because that's that 3 vertical dot drop-down menu. On the right is more of like the New Jersey Library Assistants logo and our account information. So you notice something interesting at the bottom. So other profiles, it's got my name on it. That's my SCLS work account, because you can have more than one account signed into a Chrome browser at one time. You just have to be careful that if you're looking or doing work in a Drive or whatever environment it is, you're under your profile, not always a shared account like it is in the case of the New Jersey's Association of Library Assistants. So we're going to spend, like I said, a considerable time here in settings, because this is what you came here for. So I'm going back to Google, clicking on those 3 vertical dots and going to settings. So settings is where we found privacy and security. This was that cookies, clearing browsing data. You can also just search at the top if you want to do history. You can just start typing the name. It'll give you all, instances. So if I wasn't sure where I found it the first time, I can get into that same menu we found before. Remember I said it'll probably, a lot of times it defaults to basic, and that you don't necessarily want to do all time, because then you could lose everything you ever thought you saved. I like the advanced, because then I can say, oh, okay, cached images and files. Oh, 20 passwords are saved. Like, that's interesting. That to me is a little concerning. So let's go look at it. Let's go see what they are. I can navigate, if you're a navigator, you can use the left side menu here to find passwords. I like to just search and get it done with. If I start doing the word pass, it highlights it very nice for me, but I'm looking for password manager. When I open this up, and I can clear the word pass so we don't see all those yellow things. But I can say, okay, I wanted to offer to save passwords, and you might want to enable this, because if you go to a website, you type it in and you get this lovely pop-up on the right that says, do you want to save this password every time I access this site? That's that machine learning, that artificial intelligence working to your advantage. But certain types of, maybe like a medical record site, you don't want that saved, especially if you're using a computer that's very front, like patron facing, or it's a shared workstation. You don't want to save that. So clicking this offer to save password, you're going to get a little pop-up box that prompts you, did you actually mean to save that password? This automatically sign in is going to save everything you put in, your addresses, the names, the business, the phone number, credit card info. You might not want to have that as well. So you can just turn that off. They're just easy, toggle buttons. It would not be unusual for you to have different preferences on your shared workstations versus your personal workstations, and then something even completely different with what you use at home. This is all customizable to the user. Whoever's signed in at the Chrome browser level. You can tell you're signed in at the Chrome browser level if you see your icon that's associated with your account at the top. If you look at the top right, just to the left of those 3 vertical dots, you see that book that's got the heart bent into it. That's NJALA's image. That's how I know I'm in their account, not my own personal account, not my SCLS NJ work account. So if I want to check passwords, because data breaches are a serious thing, right? You can click on this link. It'll tell you if you have weak passwords or good passwords. So here we had 20 passwords saved. Some of them are weak passwords. That's bad internet hygiene, right? So we could strengthen those, but not all these things are, my account. So then I have to go talk to the people I share this account with and say, looks like you did something on our shared account that might not be good, or you might be putting yourself at risk from someone stealing your information. If you click on this eyeball, which I'm not going to do, it will literally take that string of dots and show you what the password is. If you knew you needed to update a password from here, you can click on this other set of 3 vertical dots. You can edit the password. If you absolutely know you don't want the computer storing that anymore, you can click on remove. It'll say in the bottom left, password deleted. If you know that you go to a website and you really want to save the password, like you're shopping from WB Mason or something all the time, you can put in that website's URL, your username, and your password. And then it's saying, make sure you're saving with your current password for this site, because we all know how frustrating it is when you know you typed in the right password and it says that it's not quite right, and you do the whole click the link for forgot password and you get the email and you have to reset it. And then you find out you're just putting in the same password again. Super frustrating, but that's the internet trying to protect you. So there are worse things to be annoyed over. But you can add the passwords here versus going to every single website on their own and changing it or adding them manually. All right. Any questions about passwords? Anything more about cookies, cache, anything like that? User history.
Looks like you're good, Crystal.
Perfect. All right. Let's get into some more of the fun stuff. I like to customize appearance of Google. So there is a whole store just based on themes. I do not like looking at a white screen all day long, right? Like you can buy special glasses if blue light bothers you. You can also just change your Chrome settings and that'll help you. And then you don't have to buy another thing to keep at your desk. So these are free. You can scroll through until you find something you like. There's all sorts of hobbies. Like I said, I like dark themes, and incognito mode is always in a dark theme, but we can pick something more fun today. Like this is colorful. Let's go with this. So if you find something that's meaningful for you, whatever it is, you can look at reviews. People will tell you, just like if you're online shopping, oh yeah, great, 5 stars. This is a virus. Okay, well, good to know. If you download it, it'll never go. But that is from almost a year ago, so that might not be true. So maybe I don't want to do that one. So if we just pick something else, butterflies, beautiful. We can do the same thing. We can look at the reviews. All right, the first couple are all looking good, all looking good. You can look for related things. Okay, I like that picture of butterflies, but it's not perfect. If, you can look by title to see if there's something else. But if you know you really like that one, you just click Add to Chrome and wait for it. And all of a sudden, the top of your browser is going to change colors. So let's say we want to see what that looks like now. So if I go back and I just refresh a Google, I can see, okay, sorry about the pop-up. I've got my theme stayed even when I refresh the thing. If I want to go, I'm just trying to get to a new tab. When I start fresh with a new Chrome tab, and now every time I close it and I open it back up, that's going to be my background. So that's a fun way to customize it. You don't have to pick a picture. You can go with just settings. You can go patterns. There's all sorts of really cool settings that they have just for you. If you want to show a home button, here's where that new tab page, like I just clicked on the plus symbol and opened a new page. If every time I open a new page, I want it to go to a specific custom web page and not just a Google search page, I can enter that address here and it'll bring me right to it. Maybe you check the news or the weather often. That can be a fun way to get to that site without having to bookmark it. Your side panel, do you want everything to show on the right or the left? Completely up to you. The font, if you need reading glasses when working on the computer, but they're uncomfortable, you can change it, make it large. We can make it very large. We can change the font if we don't like standard like Arial and Times New Roman. We can change it to whatever we want. Maybe you have a favorite font, or maybe you just like goofy, depending on your mood, you want a different font. Anything you want to do, you can do it in here. Look at even that math font. Like, how cool is that? Font size, you can make it super tiny where you need the reading glasses, or you can make it ginormous so you could see it from the other side of the room. Again, whatever you need it to be, Google's here to help you with that. I'll leave mine a little bigger for now while we finish the thing. As we move down the left side and go to search engine, this is the search engine used in the address bar. The address bar, you may remember, is this thing we type in at the top, where we used to always have to type www dot, or if you're really good eagle eyes when you're searching websites, you know that you only want to go to things that have the HTTPS, because S stands for secure. If it just says HTTP, it is not verified secure, and that could lead to viruses, malware, other things if you spend ample time on the site. Just because you go to it for 1 second and go back doesn't mean you've infected your computer. But if I have to use Google Chrome, because like we work here at, or I work here at Somerset County and it's a Chrome environment, everything's powered by Chrome, but Google might not be my favorite search engine and I like DuckDuckGo better. I can change that in here. I don't have to bookmark DuckDuckGo. If I want to manage the search engines and sites here, like if you're into keyboard shortcuts, which we're not going to talk about today, but if you Google keyboard shortcuts for Chrome, you'll find thousands of them. You can use a space or a tab or just the tab if you have a preference. A lot of that I think comes down to, do you like using a mouse or do you like doing everything straight from the keyboard? Either way is fine. Just know that if you'd like everything from the keyboard, you might want to choose one or the other. If you know you want to do a search engine, but you don't want to call it Google because that you don't think of it that way, you think of it as Chrome, you can go in here and you can rename it. And you'll notice that at the bottom, it's going to default, if you know how to read URLs and web jargon, right to the Google homepage where you do the search queries. You can do the same thing for all the other ones. If you want to add to be a part of your Chrome experience, you can add a site search right here. If you go to it a lot, that's what I was saying, like other secondary accounts. Maybe you use some kind of inventory management thing at your job. You don't want to bookmark it. You just know you're going to spend a lot of time in it all day. You want that to pop up every time you open a Chrome browser. You can add that in here. If you know the URL has a specific navigation and you don't want to click through it every time you go, you can even update it here if you're really good at working with URLs. This inactive shortcuts thing, these are the things that you see in Google that show up. So when we go here and it says enable most sites visited, because remember I changed my default browser to DuckDuckGo a few seconds ago. So if I click this enabled sites, things I go to the most, that's what we see here. It says the New Jersey Library Association of Library Systems use their Google Drive, sometimes Google Translate. I know we use Gmail and Zoom a lot. So I can add those sites here. A default in Google Chrome, it does that for you. So you can use this in your settings under search engine as a way to customize these sites. Otherwise, Google's just going to use that machine learning to say, well, you go read BuzzFeed every day around this time. We're just going to put BuzzFeed's homepage down here for you, or whatever it is. We all have our thing we go to the most. All right, default browser, we already kind of went over. It says Google Chrome is the default browser, and that's fine. If you notice at the top, it's saying your browser is managed by your organization. That's because I'm using a Somerset County owned device right now. It's not like a big brother watching you thing. It just means this device was provisioned by your company. So nothing to worry about there. On startup, every time you click from the pin bar at the bottom of your screen, or on your desktop, if you like to double click on the icon, every time you do that, if you want it to go to a specific place, like let's say you were reading BuzzFeed and then your boss walked in the room and you're like, oh God, I got to get off that screen fast. If you have it set to continue where you left off, no worries, you can close the screen, go to a blank desktop, talk to your boss. They can look at your computer, not notice that you were doing anything that wasn't maybe work related for that break you were on. And then the next time you open it, it'll go right back to the web page where you left off. Convenient. Or you can say, I want you to open to specific set of pages. And I like this in particular on public service desks, because you can say, I want it to add multiple tabs across the top of the browser. I want one to be like the staff intranet. I want one to be our company's website. I want another to be, to log me into my Gmail account. Whatever you use as an individual that enhances how quickly and efficiently you can do your job, this is where you can add those pages. And again, you can use this, the Chrome browser, as a way to do that without having to litter the whole top of your browsing bar with bookmarks and folders and anything else that you may be more accustomed to or have seen before. All right, languages. I speak English as my primary language, but sometimes I like to think that I know French better than I really do. So I might go and say, all right, I want to change it to another language. If you click on those three dots, this offer to translate thing can be helpful. You might have went to, or if you never have, you go to a website and maybe it's in Arabic or Spanish and you don't speak that language, but that website is developed in that country and that's what their primary audience is. So it's going to default to that. Sometimes a little pop-up at the top of your browser will say, do you want to translate this to English? Boom, you can click it right there. If you happen to be bilingual and you visit many sites often, you can just add them in here, add the websites and say, for this page, I want it to be in this language, and it'll do that for you. And then you can get rid of that box. I happen to like that box, so I'm going to leave it on. Spell check, all of our favorite thing for our phones with that auto predictive texting. Basic spell check is just going to correct you when you do a Google search and you spell something wrong, or it was supposed to have an apostrophe and it doesn't. Enhanced spell check, so it's using the same spell checker, but it's going to do a different kind of web crawl, and it's going to look for more websites in the exact way that you spelled it. I think basic spell check does fine, but if you want to be real specific and say, well, I don't want American English, I want a different kind, you can just uncheck it and then go on from there. Again, Google is your oyster. You can customize it however you'd like. Downloads, it's helpful to know when you've downloaded something where it went, right? Like we'd all love to say it went to my downloads folder, but you can change that if you don't want it to go there. If you're doing like tax documents, you can say, well, I want it to go somewhere else. So you can hit change. Instead of going to that folder, you can say, I want it to go to my desktop. I need more instant access to it immediately. You change that under your PC settings and you just hit select folder. And then if we refresh this page, it should now say desktop, which it does. You can also click this box, which if you got, again, like a shared workstation, can be very helpful. It's going to ask you where you want that file saved every time you download it. And then you will get that same kind of box that'll pop up like this, and then you can navigate to where you want it to go. All right, accessibility. This comes in handy. And a lot of websites you use, if you use Zoom and you host meetings like we're doing today, you can turn on the live captioning automatically, or you can make it a part of the recording. If you listen to podcasts or you want an article to be read to you, you can kind of start it in here. There's also a lot of add-on extensions that you can add to your Chrome browser. Live captioning can be really nice. See, I kind of tried to download like every website that this New Jersey Association of Library Assistants account has ever went to. And it tried to it did a web crawl and it got prepped. So when we go back there, it'll have captioning turned on. So if we wanted to go watch like a CNN video, it'll auto turn on the captioning. You can change the caption size. So if you prefer to have your caption on a black background with white lettering over the top, you can change it in here. If you want to do a quick highlight on a focused object, you can just enable this, and then if you like click on a picture, it'll kind of give you a bigger text box that's text description to say what that picture is about. Navigate pages with a text cursor. It's kind of like previewing the page without going to it automatically. Or if you want to have real quick access to the Chrome store, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, you can get to it through here. Your system stuff, some of this, if it's your personal computer, you'll be able to customize it a lot more. Because I'm using one organized or managed by my organization, I don't get as many customizations. But if there was something in here that you use at home and you want it to be at work, you probably just have to contact your IT department and let them know what it is, and they can look into it and investigate more about how that would help you do your job. Just remember that they can always say no if it might harm the overall organization. But like continue running background apps when Google Chrome is closed. This is more so probably prevalent that you've seen it on your phone, right? You got apps running in the background. Some of them might interact with Google or might, be from the Google Play Store. If you don't want that to happen, you just turn off the toggle thing. Use hardware acceleration when available. This is just going to speed up your computer's responsiveness. Even things like what's files saved on the actual desktop and in the computer. Reset and cleanup are things that you probably are never going to do unless you have really, really gotten malware or a virus on your computer. If you want to start really easy on just your browser level, start here at the reset and cleanup. Here you can reset everything about your account back to what Google had it set up when you started it. And notice it says like your bookmarks, history, saved passwords won't be affected. That's helpful because then you're not starting completely over, but it is going to take away all the extensions you added, delete your cookies, reset all of the shortcuts that you made. So this is one of those times where I just showed you a bunch of ways you can have bookmarks without literally adding bookmarks. But if you have a tendency to go to websites maybe you shouldn't, or they do infect your computer, if it has to be reset, you're going to lose those websites. If you had bookmarked it across the top of the bar, they would still be there. That is all your personal preference. I'm not going to hit reset settings today because then we'd be kind of starting over. All right. That is it for settings that I'm going to show you, but I do encourage you to go in and poke around. And like I said, just click on arrows and read the things, especially this privacy and security thing. Click on these bubbles, read the different menus that they're telling you. Figure out what kind of cookies you like. If you do a lot of online shopping, food ordering, cookies are your friend. If you do a lot of medical things with your doctors, cookies are not always your friend. You don't want that data stored, especially not on a shared device. All right. We go back to this. Oh, and this picture on the right, I just wanted you to see that you can have many profiles signed into one Chrome browser at a time. You can swap through them so the user can be on their profile. And just remember, when you sign in and you're in the Chrome, you've signed into Chrome, the browser, everything, and you see your icon in that upper right. That's when you've really, really enabled Chrome for all it's worth, and you can go to different devices. And as long as you sign in, all your bookmarks sync. You can even, pull it up on your phone, it syncs. You switch from a desktop to a laptop, it's all synced. And you'll see that sync is on. If you ever start with a brand new, fresh computer, it'll ask you right at the start, do you want to sync all your devices to this one? All right, bookmarks and folders. They were the go-to standard of how to, save things. And I know we all still use them today. I hope I've showed you those other ways you can bookmark things. But how do you make a bookmark? At the New Jersey Association of Library Systems, we only have 2 bookmarks because we like to use those other ways to set things up. And that could just be my personal preference because I manage a lot of the account. But you can just, click on your bookmark, it brings you right to the thing. But let's say I need more bookmarks, like I want to have njla.org, right? One of our partner organizations, but I don't have them bookmarked. How do I get started? So I go to their website first, of course. I go to those handy dandy 3 vertical dots and navigate down to bookmarks. And I hover on it and it'll say, do I want to bookmark this tab? Which in this case I do. Underneath it is bookmark all tabs. That means every tab that's open in the Chrome browser at that time. There's also the show bookmarks bar. That's how I can see under my website address search my shortcut links. So I want to bookmark this tab. So if you look up in the upper left here where it says the bookmarks exist for NJALA and Zoom already, right now it just says home, but that's not what this website is called, right? It's the New Jersey Library Association's website. That's what they call this part of their web page. This is their landing page, their home page. So I'm going to rename it to be NJLA. And do I want it in the bookmarks bar? I do for now. If I knew I was going to go and maybe I wanted ALA's website, PLA, and a whole bunch of other library organizations, I could go to choose folder and I could start making a new folder right here. So if I want to say I want library organizations, and I can save it. And now all of a sudden I got a whole new folder there with NJLA at it. If I want to add NJALA to it, I can kind of just click and hold on it and I can put it over the top. And now I dragged it into there. So let's say we want to go find ALA. And it'll take a second to load because it's a pretty data heavy place. And here, oh, look at that. We got a cookie warning right at the top. So we use cookie to improve our user experience. We know that. We talked about cookies earlier. We're in. All right, accept cookies. So we're going to bookmark this page. So again, vertical dots, go to bookmarks. There's a shortcut, which is this Control-D that you see. I want to bookmark this page. So I'm just going to go with their abbreviation, but I don't want to put it in that folder of other library organizations. I just want it to show up on the bookmark bar. So I can click done, and now there they are. They've got their thing right there. If I want to flip between all of them, you know, it's just a click away. Easy navigating. And again, if I hold on it and kind of drag it down the screen, I am seeing it under my cursor. I can lay it over that library organizations thing. If I want to right click on it, I can also do similar things. I can add a folder from here. I can go to the bookmark manager and say, all right, here's all my bookmark things. And like I said, we don't have too many, but if I want to move it somewhere or copy it, or, oh, I know I want to go incognito on that website because it's not always trustworthy or whatever it is. I can do all that right here. They give me the same cookie warning, but we know incognito mode doesn't track cookies anyway. So I did not have to click OK on that. All right. I know that some people have a lot of bookmarks and they will like go over and over. If you don't want to see your bookmark bar, it's in that same 3 dots thing. And here I'll go to just Google so you can see. I don't have a bookmark bar anymore. Don't freak out if that happens to you because there is a shortcut key to make that happen. You can just go right back into those 3 dots and have it come right back. Just because it disappears doesn't mean that all your bookmarks were deleted. It's very rarely the case that that happens. All right, let me close some of these things. Okay, extensions. So extensions are some of the fun things that Google offers that'll really help you do your job a little bit faster, a little differently. We're just going to launch right into the store. I really like this ColorZilla one. If you do newsletters, marketing, PowerPoints like this, ColorZilla is fun because you can go to any website, use their little medicine dropper looking thing, and it'll tell you the hex chroma key color for it. When you know you want to have a thing, you click on add extension and it'll give you a warning what it can read. You just click add extension again. It's checking it. Now it refreshes and says, okay, you're gonna see all these other new fancy things. I'm fine with that. Just remember, when you're using a device owned by your organization, it may not be whitelisted. Not everything is going to be allowed. Then you just have to contact your IT department and ask. Once you have the extension, you click on that puzzle piece and you can see which ones are. We don't have too many for the New Jersey Association of Library Assistants, but you can go manage the extensions, see which ones you do have enabled. You can click on the details if you want to know what it is, how much size it's taking, how it's working, and you can remove them from here too. If you want to bookmark a particular, I know I want that ColorZilla thing, I can pin it and that adds it to my Chrome bar. So now if we go, let's go just to another Google screen. And I know I want to use this thing and I want to do Color Page Picker Active. It gives me all these fields like I'm editing something. I can click on the thing, it'll take a second to load, and then it'll show me what the color is. And I don't think that's going to work in Zoom right now. So, but extensions can be a lot of fun. I use this Adobe Acrobat PDF one, then I don't need an Adobe Acrobat license on my device. So just kind of interesting. Let me close these. We're going to go back to this. I don't have any other tips to show you today, and I know that we're near the end of the hour. So thank you for hanging with me. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask Deborah or type them in the chat. I will send you the slide deck afterward where you can read these articles. Google has a wonderful help supporter. Anything you need to know, they've got it for you. That's that bottom link that'll be in that deck. And then these are the upcoming things that I'm going to talk about in these monthly sessions. But at this time, does anybody have any questions?
All right, there are no questions in the chat. There was one comment that said, I didn't know there were so many templates to choose from, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think at this point, I'm going to stop the recording, and then if folks want to go ahead and unmute and ask questions, they can do that for a little while.